Welcome to the Value Builder Podcast, where we focus on real estate with a value-add mindset. Real strategies, real operators, real outcomes. Let's dive in.
Hey, Value Builder community. Today I'm going to be sitting down with Joe Fairless. He's a co-founder of Ashcroft Capital, which controls over 14,000 units across the Sunbelt area. Joe hosts the best ever series show, the Daily Commercial Real Estate Podcast. Today we're going to be diving in what Joe is actually seeing across his massive multifamily portfolio right now, supply, vacancies, and concessions in Sunbelt. And it's not going to be doom and gloom, but what's really happening on the ground from someone who is managing 14,000 doors. We'll break down why concessions in the area lasted longer than anyone expected, and why Class A properties recover faster than Class B, and why he believes we're at the beginning of 12 to 18 months recovery cycle right now. Then we're going to shift in capital raising at scale, and that's really important point. I learned a lot. Joe will reveal his strategy for diversifying equity sources, raising money from direct investors, institutions, managers, family offices, broker dealers, and even now how to get on platforms like Fidelity and Schwab without a publicly traded real estate trust. And that was really new to me, and so stick around. And at the end, Joe will share his philosophy on systematic proximity, creating systems where you are in proximity with right people on a regular basis to grow and achieve together when it comes to commercial real estate. So let's get into it, guys. I attended his conference way back when in Denver. Joe has really extensive portfolio, so we definitely here for a treat. So welcome, Joe, and let's get into the podcast.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you are a best ever conference alum and enjoyed that conference that we had in Denver. That must have been at least 3 years ago.
At least 3 years ago. I think more than that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Because we've been in Salt Lake City the last 3 years, and I actually haven't officially announced it. This will be the first place I've announced it. Next year we're going to be in Dallas. I haven't even signed the contract with the venue yet, but it's in my inbox. I'm just going to assume I'm going to sign it. And yeah, next year we're going to be in my home state, Texas, and we'll be in DFW where I grew up. That's where awesome. The conference will be. So where I'm at now is I'm in Ohio. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio with my wife and daughter.
Awesome. That's great, Joe. So let's dive into the topics that I think, our audience would like to learn. Can you just, give a color, how much is how big is your portfolio? How many doors? So audience can get a sense. And I would like to lean into that. What do you see in your portfolio in terms of right now, in terms of leasing rates? There's a lot of noise going on, but maybe we can start, just give a color, how many doors you're managing. And then I would like to lean in and know what you're sensing from portfolio the last 12 months, what's going on.
Mm-hmm. We have about 14,000 doors, and that's across properties in the Sunbelt from Dallas, Fort Worth, markets I just mentioned, to Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and then up to Chapel Hill. We have one property, and then we have a decent sized portfolio in Atlanta, the Sunbelt there. I know based on what I know about your audience, you don't have a whole lot of multifamily investors. You have a lot of commercial real estate investors. And one of my good friends is focused on office, retail, and strip centers, Ash Patel. Mm-hmm. And so I've invested with him, and I've become real good friends with him and his family, and learned a lot from him about that side of the world. So that's what the portfolio consists of now, and that's where it's located.
Makes sense. Now, there's a lot of noise in the media about multifamily is being affected on the debt side, on leasing and vacancies. So you being right now in Sunbelt, what's the real feedback right now? Do you think we passed that, I'm calling a stress test, where we have dropped in occupancies, and we're hearing that I don't have anything over there, but I'm hearing that there is a lot of incentives for rentals. It's just like a lot of pressure going on compared to, let's say, maybe to other asset class. I know office is completely obliterated for the most in the most markets. But what if we're talking about multifamily, where we are actually right now? There is so much doom and gloom, but you as an operator, you probably have real sense what's going on.
I think I do. And it's always going to be market specific.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always going to be submarket and neighborhood specific and property specific. So, but it's impossible to have a conversation about what's happening in general without being a little general, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you what's generally taking place from what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that new supply dropped off sharply. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was a historic amount of new supply, more new supply that multifamily's seen since I believe 70s, late 70s, I think. And we're still absorbing what was built over the last few years. So it's dropped off, but it's still in the absorption stage. So there's still hundreds of thousands of units in lease up competing for tenants. That's happening right now, and that's what's keeping the rents muted. Because of that dynamic. But we are seeing early signs of momentum. It still needs to prove itself out through the full year, but the Class A recovered certainly faster, and because there's institutional dollars that have been chasing Class A for at least the last 18 to 24 months. Class A cap rates, I'll give you a specific example. We bought a deal in Orlando in August of 2024, and it was a 5.5 cap. And since then, cap rates in that market have compressed to about a 4.9 for this property. So we've seen cap rates compress on Class A deals over the last 18 months. But Class B deals haven't hit that threshold yet of compression. And depending on the deal, it might have expanded a little bit, again, depends on the market. So what a lot of people get wrong with seeing signs of recovery is they expect it to happen quickly or in over a quarter. But that's just not how it works, because you've got tenants, say you got 100 tenants at a property, 100 unit property. Well, they all didn't sign a lease the same month.
Mm-hmm.
And what you'll find is because of that, because it's staggered throughout the year, you're going to have to, the ones who did sign a lease, they came in with concessions. Therefore, you have a depressed or decreased NOI. And in order for that to, the increase in rents that you're seeing, say, in May, that's only on a handful of units. You're going to have to see that through a whole 12-month cycle to cycle out those concession rents that are on the books. So it takes 12 months. It takes 12 months for a full recovery to take place. And I believe we are at the beginning of that full recovery for Class B. And by full recovery, I don't necessarily mean that values are going to be back to what they were in 2021. I guess what I mean in this context is NOI is growing, and it's because the supply has been absorbed, and then the market's doing what the market does when there's more demand than supply.
Makes sense. So just for me to understand a bit in a clear way. So you see that oversupply that was present, let's say last year, it's slowly shrinking, and leading indicator is that there is no more glut coming in. It's reducing that oversupply, right? It's not coming more online.
That's right. Yeah, as lease ups stabilize, concessions will burn off, and the pricing power comes back,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what will unlock things. It's not
Yeah,
the question is not is our rents going to grow? It's when they're going to grow, and it's
exactly.
tied to how fast we absorb the supply. This
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
like a 6-month thing. This is a 12 to 18 month transition that's going to need to take place.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a lagging indicator, but that's what's going to happen. What's going to hit next year this time. And yeah, well, so based on that, what I'm hearing, actually, it's the best time to get in. It's not a doom and gloom.
Well, I don't know if it's the best time because I don't know when the best time
Yeah.
is because I can't predict the markets. And if the job market weakens, then everything slows down, and you're not going to get those rent increases. Or if the war with Iran continues for a prolonged period of time, that's going to have a negative impact on what we're trying to do also. So, I mean, I think the recovery is going to be gradual. It's going to be uneven. It's not a straight line. But I think there are enough fundamentals, barring major events in the macro level economy, that could sidetrack things. But there's enough positive fundamentals right now that you could reasonably think that, okay, this is the right time to buy properties because of the potential tailwinds that we have behind us.
Every week, I read hundreds of commercial real estate articles from across the U.S. and around the world. I connect the signals, break down the Fed moves, and share real case studies, not theory, from my 2 decades of real estate experience and actively doing deals right now. My team and I spend 15 plus hours on a weekly basis and deliver this to you for free. You can read it in 5 minutes. So every Sunday at 9:07 a.m., you'll get major commercial real estate news that matters, one Fed insights that matters, one deep dive case study from me or one of our operators who already made the mistakes, so you don't have to. Thousands of commercial real estate operators and investors read this newsletter, especially in the value add space. And don't take my word for it. Check out hundreds of reader testimonials online. Plus, when you subscribe, you get instant access to a Perform underwriting tool, the same one we use every single day to underwrite value add deals. Now, this is not for you if you're looking to get rich quick schemes, or if you're looking for theory and hallucinations, not real numbers, or you're not serious about commercial real estate. But if you want real tactics, real deals, real results, no bait and switch, go to joinvaluebuilder.com and subscribe for free. And see you there, guys. Yeah. And I'll add to that, of course, like you alluded in the beginning, is really it's market specific to the property. And I dropped the on one response was told to me by Bill O'Reilly. He owns a lot of apartments here in Chicagoland, and asking that question, probably know the line. Well, the best time to get in was 25 years ago. The second time is right now.
Yeah.
Second time is right now. It all depends on the deal.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. All right. So that's really great insight. I really appreciate for sharing that. It's great to hear from someone who has the tabs on portfolio right now, instead of just generalizing from reports and that happened a long time ago. Anything else you could think of that operationally was very surprising this year or new? I don't know, CapEx, construction, or anything like that. Any other surprising operational challenges, or maybe good surprises that was?
I would say one challenge that has stuck around longer would be concessions. And they're starting to be burned off. And again, it depends on the market, but concessions have lasted longer than a lot of operators anticipated, and a lot of economists and research companies anticipated, just because the people aren't spending.
Mm-hmm.
The confidence of the consumer is lower than what it was, last 6, 12, 18, 24 months. And when the confidence is lower, I think Michigan has that consumer confidence index report that they publish. They're not spending. They're not going to switch jobs. They're not going to have switch apartments, switch homes. They're not going to buy homes as much. And with that, things just stagnate. Mm-hmm. And then, so concessions were stickier than what a lot of people thought. But again, I think we're hopefully closing that chapter out and focus more on just, getting through the next 12 months as things cycle out.
Yeah, I can relate to that. We have some self-storage properties, and we thought that when 24 came in and it felt like there was more inventory that market needs, I was also anticipating that concessions will will dissipate in 12 months or so. But I think what happened is just because housing slowed down and self-storage is so dependent on housing, and it just we're still having lots of concessions, and tenants are jumping from facility to facilities, just looking for more concessions, which has been probably the second year right now. I thought they were going to be more or less dissipated, but I see they keep there, and we're still spending on Google ads like we used to be. I thought it's only temporarily.
Yep.
Very similar. All right. So next thing, I know that many of my readers and podcast listeners would like to get a taste from you guys about your capital raise, because I know I believe you're running like almost a separate business on a capital raise activity. So if you can give us a flavor, generally, how much capital you're raising on a monthly basis, and how does it look like? Is it a massive operation with salespeople, or it's more organic coming from your relationships and conferences? How does it? Because many of the listeners, a lot of my listeners are 1-2 man shops, and a lot of times they're operator and capital raiser, and just would like to get a taste. How does it look like in your company?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to clarify, it's all under one umbrella. Yeah, when we raise money, we raise for Ashcroft Capital Deals, because when I say we, it's Ashcroft Capital. So it's not a separate business. It's just simply the investor relations team. And we only raise when we have an opportunity to buy. And last year, we bought one deal with our direct investor network, and then 2 deals with institution, and then 2 more deals we recapped that were in our portfolio. So all in, five total deals if you count the 2 that we recapped with an institution. So, and what's important there, the theme there is to diversify your equity sources. That's something that a lot of people miss. There's multiple equity sources. There's direct investors. So some people call them retail investors. I call them direct investors. That's one. Another would be fund managers, speak and talking to and networking with fund managers. Another would be family offices. Another would be broker dealers. Another would be direct to institution. So those are 5 I can think of. Another would be getting on platforms like Fidelity and Schwab, and having a strategy to raise money through RIAs from those platforms. There's 6 right there, 6 different channels. And a lot of people just focus on, say, direct investors and speaking to direct investors, but that's going to be a miss, because you want, just like when you invest your own personal money, you want to diversify your personal portfolio, right? You concentrate to build and you diversify to keep. So while you might concentrate initially on one or 2 channels, you diversify your channels to keep the money coming in regardless of the market cycle. Because as you know, institutional dollars are just different than direct investors or wealth managers or someone else. So that the key there is to drilling down on, say, platforms, for example. So Fidelity, and we'll just choose RIAs and through Fidelity and Charles Schwab. The key is, how do you get on the platforms? Well, you talk to people who have got on them. Well, you need a sponsor. You need an RIA that says, yeah, I like you, I know your group, and I'll sponsor you to be on the Fidelity's platform. Have some pull with Fidelity. And if we tell Fidelity, hey, we think this group should be on the Fidelity platform, then they're going to listen, and it's going to actually fast track you. So getting on the platforms, knowing the right steps to take and who to talk to, that's necessary. Then once you're on it, okay, that was a big win, but now you've got to raise money through the platform. So how do you do that? And it's having the right team member or partner that you hired gun, who is helping you raise money through the platform. So that's something that is a focus of ours. We have the institutional side built out. We have the direct investor network built out, where we're currently working on getting on platforms. I've got some good friends of mine who are on those platforms and who are raising money on them.
So just to clarify, this was really new to me because I always thought that getting on Fidelity, you have to be a REIT level organization, but you're not referring to that, right? You're just using other companies who already on a, you don't not necessarily have to be a REIT, right? It doesn't have to be publicly traded REIT.
Correct. You would need a fund.
Mm-hmm.
Because they approve the investment, and by the time it takes you to get on the platform, like you need a long window of time because it's going to take 6 months to get approved on the platform, your fund. And now the next one will take shorter period of time, but the initial one's going to take a while. Yeah, you can be any group. Well, let me rephrase. There are qualifiers, and any group can't just get on. They wouldn't be approved, but it is not a REIT. Your organization could get on it if you had a fund and if you went through the right process.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Totally makes sense. Wow, that's a great information. Thank you, Joe, for sharing that. And it's interesting to hear that you're going the route, and let's say in the audience that we have, a lot of folks, like you mentioned, they're focusing just on direct investors, and many of them, they not necessarily going towards institutional money, right? Again, people who don't have a lot of experience. They're afraid of control. The stories like you're getting a job, it's not an investment anymore. But clearly, that's probably the path. If there is a path of growth, and you need to diversify your capital sources, because it's hard to rely only on one capital source. Absolutely, that's great. Well, Joe, we're at top of an hour. What where people can find you, or maybe you want to share something that that my audience needs to hear, maybe your community, your conference, that'll be the time. So where can they find you, or what event they can attend for with the organization?
I'm in this for the long haul. I mean, I'm in this for long-term relationships, and the conference certainly is one way. You can go to bestevercre.com and you can check out the conference. This will be our 11th year. It's going to be in March, coming up in 2027. This will be the 11th year for the Best Ever Conference. So that's one. And when you go to Best Ever CRE, there's also an inner circle that you can check out. And the key to success, in my mind, is what I call systematic proximity. So creating a system where you are in proximity with the right people on a regular basis, growing and learning and achieving together. And that's why we launched the Inner Circle at this last Best Ever Conference. And we have 13 achieving commercial real estate investors investing in different asset classes that are in the Inner Circles. It'd be something else if you're looking to level up and stay in touch with people on an ongoing basis and learn and grow. We have in-person events throughout the year. That would be another option for you to check out.
That's great, Joe. Yeah, and I can attest, I'm alumni of the conference. A great group of people, operators, and great conversations. No one's, it's not a pitch-a-thon. It's just a great conference to relate to your fellow operators who pretty much in the same game. So thank you very much, Joe. I really, really appreciate it. You definitely shared a lot of wisdom. I hope we can do it again sometime soon. And if not, we'll see you at your next conference.
All right. Thanks, Saul. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Value Builder podcast. For more strategies, stories, and episodes, head to valuebuilder.co or subscribe on your favorite app. Always make it better than you found it, and keep adding value. See you in the next one.